I Will Hold Space for Your Darkness, a first responder mental health podcast hosted by me, Erin Jane, where we have conversations about what it's like to perform a first responder role and the mental health challenges that can accompany it.
But then we end up talking for a little bit. She called me and told me whatever I want from the supplier, just let her know. So I think it was an ounce is what we tested the waters with on this next one, which is a trafficking amount of cocaine. So she says, all right, and gives me the price. And it was like $1,200, something like that. Normal, everyday price. But then she says, I'm working at such and such club tonight. Just bring me the money. And then when I get off work, I'll go pick it up. And then we'll meet up tomorrow. Well, obviously, that's kind of frowned upon a lot of times in the dope game. You just don't really let the money walk.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, Sergeant, I'm going to need $1,200, but I'm going to not be able to get the dope to you right away. And we talked about it for a minute, and we both agreed on the same thing that, her supplier was a great supplier. He was supplying celebrities, athletes, very, very well known.
You name it.
Kind of, yeah. And I was like, I've got everything on her. She's been an open book. So I know where she lives. I know this. I know like everything. And so we decided, we might as well let the money. It's worth the risk on this one to let the money walk. All sides point that she's not going to rip me off.
And also, if you are like going back to, maybe a little bit of method acting, if you are supposedly, got more money than sense, like $1,200, it's nothing to you. So you're going to have that free flowing nature with it too.
Exactly. So I go to the club, hand her the money, get done handing the money, get back in my car. It's like, well, I hope I'm not an idiot because I'm really going to hear about it if I lose $1,200.
Oh, yeah.
But everything works out. She gets off work, does exactly what she says, is nice enough to call me at 3 o'clock in the morning to let me know she has the cocaine, even though there's no way I'm going to get the cocaine at 3 o'clock in the morning. And also at 3 o'clock in the morning, still wanted to have more conversation and talk some more. Not exactly what I wanted to do. But so next day, I get one other person be my close cover, go pick up the dope from her. Go smooth. Obviously end up talking to her again for a little while. Definitely clear at this point that the money aspect is very intriguing, let's put it that way, to her, and she is wanting to date. So we ended up talking at that point. I was like, well, I've got an idea. I think we might be able to handle this for at least a little while until I can get close to the supplier. And there's another undercover who I've worked numerous cases with, who she's one of the best undercovers I think there is. Makes my job super easy. So I was like, we're going to bring this other undercover in as my sister. That way she can think that we're about to start this relationship. I've got my sister there to make sure nothing happens. I have proof that nothing happened.
Yeah,
exactly. So we do that. And we do a couple more buys in there, and then we do a 2-ounce buy. And like, I'm trying to get up to kilo level. I'm trying to get that kind of trust up to the kilo. We're not running issues with the supplier. We're running issues with the supplier trusting the stripper enough for a kilo level.
Or wanting to get to that point where they want to meet you.
Exactly. And at this point, we're going out to the club every single night, making sure that we're seeing nonstop. So, and this is going on for about a 2 to 3 week period, let's say, in there. We end up doing a 2-ounce, like, we're not getting where we need. We do set up to do a 2-ounce deal where she's got to go pick it up from his house. The stripper does. And we play, I'm out of town, then I'm not going to be able to help on this one. But my sister is going to handle it. And we're going to take her off, basically. We're going to let her pick up the dope, and then we're going to pick her off and see if she'll flip. And behind it, been to the club enough. I have had a conversation a couple times with the supplier. He's starting to like me, so I'm thinking, if this goes south, I'm not burned in any way. We're
Yeah.
still good.
Yep.
So we take her off and take her back to the station. She immediately gives up who she just bought the cocaine from. She will not give me up. Will not say that the cocaine's like covered for me left and right. I'm sitting because you have the interview room and then you can
Yeah.
watch, right? And
Yeah.
I just die. And
Oh
of
my
course, I'm paid
God.
for that too.
Yeah. Must have been true love, Matt.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
And what was your like, just to interject quickly, what was your like family situation at that time?
Well,
While you were going
married
to
with a
strip
newborn.
clubs every
Yeah,
night?
married with a newborn. And I will say I broke rules because my wife knew everything I was doing. Like, and that is probably a large percentage why we're still married. Because I was flat out honest that like, literally during this, I'm at the strip club every single day. And I even told her that I have a girlfriend. And of course, she knew how we handled things and all that.
Yeah.
And that this girl was batshit crazy. She
Yeah.
literally was. That was the other side of the stripper. She was not. Like, I remember she was doing some of her homework one time, and she asked me what 8 times 3 was. And I told her 24. And she goes, "You could not be more wrong. It's 27." She would not, even to the point where she put it in a calculator, wouldn't believe the calculator. I was like, oh.
So we can all hope that she did not go down the nursing route, because I'd be worried about the amounts of fucking drugs she'd be dispensing.
You're supposed to take this much morphine. I'm just going to go with this. It'll be fine.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was.
Life's no cop was us.
Yeah. So they take her off. She won't give me up. And very good friend of mine. I think
she turned into a CI at that point?
Temporarily. So my buddy Jeff comes, is like, I've got an idea. Let's have the best of both worlds. We're going to let her walk to work and let's see what she does with you. She doesn't know who you are. She doesn't know you're a cop. Let's see how she handles this. And basically she wants me to help her to work this stuff. And so, hey, not a problem. We can do that. It was a problem. So we go out a couple times where she's an informant and I'm just helping her out. My sister and I are helping her. And she's getting hammered and just sloppy drunk. I was like, something's going to go wrong if we keep going.
Yeah.
So we end up having a conversation. Well, first, to tell you what kind of UC my sister is and how nice she is, and I hope she watches this then. She thought it'd be real funny one night. We were taking the stripper back to her condo, and the stripper's like, stripper's in the front seat, sister's in the back seat, and the stripper's like, "You're gonna walk me up and come in, make sure my house is safe, right?" And you know how you can do that, like a little side glance to the back seat. I was like, "Yeah, my sister and I'm not using her real name because she's still, or not using her name because she still uses her UC name." So, my sister is like, "Yeah, he'll walk in," or I said, "My sister and I will walk in, no problem." And my sister's like, I don't really need to. I'll just wait in the car. You guys go ahead. And as soon as the stripper starts to get out of the car, I turn around and give that look like, I'm going to kill you in a minute. And she literally held on. Like, she let me get out of the car and everything. So I'm processing now. I've got to figure out a way to get out of this. And she just went to live, and then she immediately gets out of the car. I said, "Oh, wait, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll come on." I was like, "All right, you're dead later."
Oh my goodness.
We have a conversation after a couple times out with that and decide we got to bait on her. So I went out a couple times when I knew she wasn't going to be around, and went out by myself and got Mikey and was able to befriend Mikey really well. And then we ended up doing a few buys from Mikey directly. Mikey and I become extremely good friends to the point where I helped him move, actually.
There you go. I mean, if I was a billionaire, I would just pay people to do that kind of shit. But, you should have.
Well, we were that close. And it was funny because, like, this was when I was like, FBI wasn't involved yet, and I meet with my sergeant. Say, hey, Sarge, Mikey wants me to help him move. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And he's like, he's basically, what is wrong with you?
I
keep
feel
in
your
mind,
poor Sarge.
and I was on a podcast with this. I owe him my life, like literally. I mean, he kept me alive through this case.
Mhm.
So he's one of my closest friends, and we stay in contact today and
That's
everything
great.
else. He's just an awesome, awesome guy. But I missed the part while I'm going through this. Another thing that happened in there is we went to the stripper took us to a birthday party of somebody, Marcos, and had no idea who Marcos was. Never heard of him before. But my sister and I go to a party, walk in, and it's one of those moments where you can look around. Like, not that we judge, but you can look around and say, "Oh, this is something.
Yeah.
This could be good." And so I get introduced to Marcos and introduced as, this is Marcos, friend of the Greeks. I was like, well, that's a interesting way to introduce somebody.
So that's a drug dealer name if ever I've heard of it.
Yeah. And so keep in mind, Marcos at this time was in his 50s, I'm going to say. And I don't think he was considered an overly attractive person. But yet he had early 20 girls hanging all over him. And then every once in a while, they'd sneak off to the bathroom after they meet with them and everything else. So you're like, all right, well, I know what's going on here. This is good. Yeah. As you say, it's a target-rich environment in there. So at first, Marcos really likes my sister. Like, oh, I like hanging out with them. And then I'm able to talk to Marcos, and then Marcos and I start to get close. Talk that night, and then my stripper girlfriend, Lovely, obviously is telling everybody I'm a billionaire. Which could be a huge problem, but could also be a very good thing. Well, Marcos likes the idea that I'm a billionaire for what he wants to do. And the other thing is, another thing that paid this case off that made it so great is my stripper girlfriend was telling everybody we were sleeping together, which obviously sounds like a horrible thing, but if you need instant credibility, nothing says you're not a cop than if you're sleeping with, especially this stripper all the time. So it kind of paid off in that sense. She basically was telling everybody that because she now has her money and she wants to make sure no other, because she knows I'm in the strip clubs all the time. So she wants to mark her territory, basically.
Yeah.
Say handle.
Yeah.
So perfect. I'll take it.
Kind of like her peeing on your leg, but
yeah, exactly. not literally. So we ended up leaving that party that night, and both my sister and I like, yeah, I need to get closer to that guy too. So this was the really hard part about the case is you literally, they're connected, but they're not connected. I'm hanging out with these two people. And so pretty much I've spent half the time with Marcos and half with Mikey, and then pretty much become almost all my time with Marcos and a little bit here and there with Mikey, but that's over time. But Marcos and I go out, it was maybe 2 nights later, are talking. He's like, so what's your deal with Charlotte? Because I wasn't from there, supposedly. And I was like, well, I'm thinking about opening up a club. And at this point, I'd also known that Marcos opens clubs. That's his thing. You go to him if you want to open a club. And I said, I do a lot of business in Chicago and some other places. And basically, I want to start bringing some product, and I need a place to put it. And so that's what I want the club for. I think I said bar at first, not club. Just basically a rundown where I can store dope and not raise issues. And he's like, all right. He goes, well, you're going to need to have that. And you're also going to have a club that's upscale that people like and all that. So you're going to have to open up 2 clubs. He goes, but I can help you through all of it. Not a problem. So that kind of began our friendship right there. And Marcus and I were together pretty much every day. I'd go meet him at the strip club at 8:00 in the morning where he does business. And, you watch these mob movies and stuff, which I hadn't watched at the time, which I wish I had. But looking back, like, oh, wow, that's actually more accurate than people think. Because you literally hang out at these stupid places all day. You don't do work. Weird. But so we would hang out there and just talk, do nothing. We would drink nonstop. Like, that was the hardest thing, was because I'm sure I never saw him actually do it, but he had to be doing some coke. And he would he was fine getting by on 2 hours of sleep or whatever. I started downing Red Bulls like they were water to try to keep up. And like I can remember
Yeah.
a couple times lying and feeling my heart coming through my chest lying in bed. Like I'm going to kill myself in this case. It's a wrap.
Yeah. Ugh.
But so Marcos and I were talking one night at the strip club, and he's like, well, he was from Bolivia, and he had connections into the political system of Bolivia. This was the same time that DEA was getting kicked out of Bolivia. And right now, I'm working with the DEA also in this case. And we
Okay.
start talking that we're going to use my plane, and we're going to bring 50 kilos every other week into Charlotte from Bolivia. That we had, he worked a political aspect in Bolivia to make sure we're good. I'll bring it right in here and everything will be fine. So that was the game plan.
It's a escalation, one might say.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm so happy at this point, right? This is Cloud 9 moment. This is going to be a great case. We'll use a DEA plane. We'll do one load and boom, I'm a hero. So,
And how long has this case accumulated over?
now we're probably at the 3 to 4 month period into it.
Okay.
So we go out and then I think it was 2 days later. He's like, hey, come meet me for lunch. And he lived in a high-rise condo. And there's a little restaurant right where he lived. So I meet him there. And he's like, all right, here's how we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden he starts talking about all the people we're going to pay off. When he talks, and he had brought this up before about, you have to be sponsored with clubs, either the Greeks, the Italians, or another name I'm not going to go into, in order to open up a club, because otherwise you can't. And there was another time we were out where he showed me a sushi restaurant uptown. He says, this is the best sushi you're ever going to get on the East Coast. It'll be gone in a month because they're not sponsored. So basically, you're not going to get permits. It was extortion. Like, it will kick you out. There were other bars that had the exact same situation. This was nothing new. So obviously, it's Marco's friend of the Greek. No clue as to who I was going to be sponsored by. So obviously he's like, yes, we'll go through the Greeks. They'll take care of us, all this. We're going to have to pay off some politicians to get permits through and all of that. And the Greeks will make sure nothing happens to your place and provide you protection. So, all right, cool. That's what we're going to do. When I go back and talk about this, and they're like, if it involves political corruption, it's not a DEA case anymore. That trumps everything, and it now goes FBI. So I ended up getting hooked up with a couple guys from the FBI.
Yeah.
And they were all about the case. Like, apparently they had tried to get people into Charlotte numerous times before with zero success. So they're now quasi involved. And they basically give me my marching orders, stay the course. We've got a number one. Our goal will be to find another UC to bring in with you. It will be your money man who eventually can take over and leave you out of the case, which is good. Obviously, I'm playing in my own backyard. That's not necessarily a good thing. I didn't know how long it takes them to find a UC and all that. So this went, another year before another UC was involved.
Jesus Christ. Another year?
Yeah, it had to be close to that because the case was 2 years total, 4 months, a little under a year. But then the next issue came. It took forever to get them to deal with him.
Build the trust and rapport and everything,
And FBI doesn't do the whole embedding thing where you're there 24/7. So this guy would fly in for a couple of days and leave, and they weren't real fond of that. So that wasn't helping the situation either. So it took forever.
And how are you, psychologically dealing with the fact of, it sounds like you were spending a lot of time with these people and not just, there's my 8-hour copper shift, you're spending time with these people and then, you have a wife and a little baby at home.
So I basically didn't get to see my wife and kid. And honestly, you don't even get to talk a whole lot because you can't talk when you're around other people. So, and it's hard too. In the second case, my wife and I talked about it at one point where, yes, I want to talk to my family. I want to be with my family, but you kind of have to turn that life off. And so you talk to them and it puts you back to who you actually are, which in this particular case is not a good thing. You need to be this other person, so you've got to keep that mindset. You can't be thinking about other things.
So significant compartmentalization is sort of going on for you during this period.
Yeah. On the bright side, I'm getting to spend lots of money and eat really good food. So, I mean, you got to look at the positives and drive really nice cars. Matter of fact, so I've gotten so close to Mikey at this point, too, that we're in Porsche that's supposedly owned by me. And we've been out, and Mikey was concerned that I had too much to drink, which little does Mikey know I've been pouring drinks out, but that's all right. But Mikey's like, listen, you can't go to jail. Let me drive so that somebody has to go to jail. It's me, because there was also dope in the car, too, from Mikey. So Mikey's like, you can't get caught with anything. Like, he was literally concerned about something happening to me. Such a nice guy. Mikey is the one who should have had me. We had gone out. One time we were out, and we were at a nice club, and there was an off-duty officer there who actually knew. Like, the good thing is a lot of people forget who you are and everything else when you go to Vice and Narcotics because you can't really hang out with them anymore. Like, he knew me from back when I was on patrol. He was a neighboring district. And I saw him notice me in the club, but I knew he knew I went to Vice. And obviously there's an SOP that, which if anybody doesn't know, SOP is just standard
operating procedure.
Yeah, that you can't talk to undercover unless an undercover approaches you, no matter where you are, when it is, anything like that. You never ever approach them. So I wasn't too concerned, and I'm literally right next to my drug dealer buddy and a couple of his friends, and we're talking, having a good time. And I hear my name, my real name, a couple times. I hit Matt at. I'm like, oh, God, this ain't gonna happen. And I was hoping I ignore it and it goes away, right? Isn't that the golden rule? Ignore something, goes away.
Exactly.
And then I feel the hand on my shoulder. And I'm like, I'm dead. This is over. And he goes, Matt, my picture, like my whole name. And at this point, he has the drug dealers. He has Mikey's attention too. And he goes, you work CMPD. I'm like, you. So I was like, dude, I don't know who the fuck you are, but you're wrong. I'm not who you think. And it actually pissed off my drug dealer buddy to where he's like, dude, leave him alone. He's not who you think he is. And we turn around back to our conversation, like, well, thanks for saving my life there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness.
So that was the first time with him. And then we were at a party, and this was a who's who party. There were celebrities at the party, athletes, and he was the drug dealer for this party. And I drove him there, and he had a ton of drugs. And so we're at the party. So there's somebody that I went to high school with. Now, keep in mind, I went to high school in Pennsylvania, right? Far away from here. She had been on a TV show, on a reality TV show. And so she had quasi-celebrity status. So she ends up at this party, which I knew there was a chance she'd be at this party. But I hadn't seen her since I was in 8th grade. I was like, there is no way she would recognize me. I'm good to go. Like, I was not worried about it. And there's, 300 people at this party. So I'm at the party, and Mikey, my drug dealer buddy, is in the media room at one point, and I go to the kitchen, and I see her. I'm like, all right, no big deal. And then, again, I hear my real name, Matt. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Still not overly concerned because there's a lot of people here. I kind of just shuffle off like I don't hear it. Thinking, I probably won't even see her again. No big deal. Go back up. My drug dealer buddy is at the top of they have this media room that's got the stadium seating and all that. He's at the top. So I just go up and sit with him. Figure, well, I'm just going to hang out here the rest of the night. So we're hanging out, and sure enough, she and a couple of her friends walk in. I'm like, well, this is starting to turn bad. And she sits right in front of us, and they're whispering back and forth with her. Like, her and her friends are whispering back and forth. And with all the people that were there and everything else, I'm like, I'm dead. Like, my thought begins, there's a sliding, like, if you go down the media room, right at the front, there's a sliding door. Like, if I can make that sliding door, there's woods there. That's the only shot I got. That's what I'm going for. And I did not think it was a good one.
But important to have an exit strategy.
As dumb as it may be, that's the best I got. So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, one of her friends leans back and starts whispering to him. I'm like, well, this is it. And of course, he's between me and the exit too. So I'm like, not even an easy way out that way. And again, because he loves me so much, he's like, how the fuck would I know? Why don't you just ask him? And that was the greatest thing I've ever heard in my whole entire life. So they did. They asked me, and scary part was, obviously, I keep my backstory pretty close to my real story so that I can't mess it up too much.
Yeah.
Mine's, the orphanage and all that, but I go with an orphanage that I spent a lot of time with as a kid, so I could even tell you buildings and everything else there, so covered.
Yeah.
Bad part is it's not too far from where I actually grew up, so that it kind of puts a link there that's not good, but go with that. They believe it, and I did see them jumping on Facebook, but they didn't, like, there were no pictures of me or anything like that, so that wasn't going to do them any good at that time.
Yeah.
So that was 2 times that Mikey was nice enough to save my butt.
That's like, yeah. And so every single time you're hanging out with them, are you having a handler and like support crew nearby, or is it only if like a quote unquote like drug deal or something is actually going down?
So this was the learning experience. So I always let somebody know I was out, but I had a meeting with the FBI early on when they got involved, and this was the conversation was, we can't really do close cover. You should understand that we're more of a body recovery. But this type of thing, there's no way to cover you. Like, I'm going into these guys' condos and everything like that.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong. Like, I'm not going to blame them for that because
Yeah.
they could have blown the case if they had really tried to
Yeah.
do. But I feel like they could have worded it differently. I don't feel like body recovery was
Yeah. Yeah. A little more reassuring language probably would have like helped the situation. And like Mikey and Marcos, are they obviously drug dealers are often, kind of known to be carrying firearms for protection or that kind of thing. Like, were they armed a lot of the time that you were dealing with them too?
So Marcos and Mikey were not, but keep in mind you're talking more mafia type setting, so they had people that were armed for them.
Yeah, they kind of had their minions, like.
Exactly, yeah. And I was never armed. There was no way I could be. I was searched. The strippers were actually very well trained at searching you. They're probably better than most cops, actually.
Yeah, because cops are your cognitive search, but so
yeah, I don't want to touch it.
Exactly.
Put
my hand there.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So you're telling me that it's taken like 12 months for the FBI to find an appropriate person to try to like insert into this dynamic, and then they're having like the trust issues because it's a bit of a, or he or she, a bit of like fly in, fly out, all that kind of stuff. So then how does it progress from there?
So, and this was early on, and this was pretty much almost right when the FBI started getting involved. There was one night that Marcos calls me up and says, come pick me up, which that part wasn't abnormal. I go pick him up, and he says, come on, we're going to such and such bar, which we went to a lot. Again, nothing abnormal yet. And he said, well, I'm driving him over there. He's very quiet, which Marcos is very outgoing, talkative, everything like that, and usually drunk. But he's quiet. He's definitely not drunk, and he's on his phone a lot, sending texts and stuff, and not letting me see it, which is pretty abnormal for him. Like, at that point, a couple red flags are starting to go off. Like, all right, his behavior is different tonight. What's up?
Yeah.
We get to the bar, and again, a place we go to all the time. Walk in, and the hostess there, who we know, we usually just sit wherever we want. And this time, she's like, "Up, your seats are ready. I'll take you to the seats." So now I have another red flag. This has never happened before. And then she takes us to the far end of the bar and has us sit there, where to my back is a curtain that covers the office. When I say office, a small, not the real office, but like a smaller office where they have some video cameras and that kind of thing. I was like, all right, this is not an accident. Now red flags are up that, all right, something's going on. I don't know what it is. And Marcus still not saying a lot. He'll just ask me dumb questions. What was the orphanage name again? How'd you get your money? A couple things like that, but not many, just super quiet. And I think it was even at the point like I was asking, like, is everything all right? You're not yourself tonight. And he's basically, I don't feel like drinking tonight. I'm like, all right. And he would
what
step
is
away.
your level of like freaking stress and fear at this point, like, because you fucking know what's going on.
Yeah, like something's not right. I don't know what. I'm definitely nervous. And the bar we were at was a Greek bar. So now, my immediate instinct is replaying the last, month in my head. Did I mess up? Did I do something wrong? And they picked me up. Like I said, did I say something that they figure out who I am? And then you've also, got to start weighing. Do I bail? Do I ride this out? What should I do? And then the reality is I can't say I made the right decision. Again, don't ever mistake good tactics for good luck kind of thing. But I didn't bail. So we're there for a little bit, and he's like, come on, we're going to go uptown to the clubs up there. Like, all right. So we get back in the car. We get there, and the place is called Epicenter, and the clubs are on like the second and third story. You walk up steps to get to them. So we get to the second level. He gets a phone call, and he's like, hold on, and walks away again. And just leaves me standing there, and then comes back to me and says, come on, we're going back to my place. Let's have a bottle of wine. Marcos lives in a condo where he's close to the very top. It's a high-rise condo. So at this point, it's, well, fuck.
Or more importantly, maybe I'm fucked.
More appropriately. Reality's hindsight, right? When you're not emotionally involved in all that, I probably should have bailed at this point, but I didn't. So we go to his condo, and I've been to his condo, numerous times before, right? I've been hanging, and that's the weird part. Keep in mind, Marcus and I have been together a lot now lately, right?
Yeah.
I hang out with he and his daughters nonstop. His daughters will actually call me if they have problems and stuff, right? We're that close. I mean, I go over there for Sunday dinners for crying out loud. Like, why all of a sudden this turn? So all the other times, the hundreds of times I've been to Marcus' place, the lights are always on. He never turns the lights off. I swear he sleeps with the lights on. So you walk in, there's the kitchen right here, little hallway, straight into the living room, and then balcony on the other side, and then a small bathroom on the right, and his bedroom and a bathroom on the left. All doors are open. You see everything. All lights are on in every room when I've always been there. Walk in this time, and it's completely dark when we walk in. And I'm like, just, again,
not going to end well.
Now I should definitely turn and run. But he goes, go on, have a seat on the couch. I'll get us a bottle of wine. So I walk in, and side note, and I think we talked about it, they did a TV show. There's a TV show called Undercover Caught on Tape on A&E, and I did this case on there, and this is the part that they focused on was this night.
Okay. Yeah.
And it bothers me to this day. Like, they did an outstanding job. But it bothers me to this day because the apartment doesn't look like his. Like, it was funny because like when I watched it, I went right back. I was all pissed.
You're like, that's not right. That's not right.
Like, just the stupidest thing in the world. But anyway, still a side note there. So I literally walked straight to the balcony and looked down because I wanted to see where I was going. Because I was confident at that point that I was taking a dive. And there was a pool. Like, yes, it was a long ways down, but there was a pool. So I did think maybe I could at least aim for the water.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have made any difference.
No, it probably would have depended whether you had like a bullet in your skull when you were like taking that dive. Like, all these things come into play.
For sure. I mentioned this would have been, I think, winterish. Like, it would have probably been. It was definitely cold outside, I think. So that water would have been cold too. It's just been a bad situation. So I go, I have a seat on the couch. He gets a bottle of wine, a couple glasses. Keep in mind, I think he can go through a bottle of wine normally in like 5 minutes. And this time he's barely drinking it. But again, he's still on his phone. At this point, he's asking me all kinds of questions over and over. And at one point, or several points, he gets up and goes in his bedroom. And you'll know this. You know the criminal opening door shut technique, right? Like, you knock on that door, and they either slide their body out and shut it right behind them. You cannot see what's in that room. Right? And I mean, that just looks, it looks normal. You'll never suspect anything. Yeah. Well, that's what he's doing when he comes in and out of the bedroom. Is he's kind of sliding in, sliding out.
Super shady.
I'm a dead man. So all night he's asking me, and it's maybe 20 different questions. It's not a lot of questions.
Did you challenge him at any point, like to be like, mate, what the fuck? Or you were just kind of like, just going. roll with it.
I went with it for a while, and then I was like, we're close. We've been hanging out. Like, give me a break. I know your daughters, for crying out loud. I come eat at your house. Did I do something? What's wrong? And kind of going that route. And he wasn't joyful. He's like, no, everything's fine. About the extent of what I got. So this goes on until about 6 o'clock in the morning. I can tell because it becomes daylight outside. I can see the sun coming up. That's how long it's been. And then just like that, it's, all right, you can leave. I'll call you later. And that's it. Like that abrupt, everything else.
Yeah.
So I just literally out the door.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I get to my car, you put the key in. This was still back at the time where you used the key. And it's like, is this thing going to blow up when I turn this?
Oh, yeah.
I'd gone through my car. So they had, and I could tell, like, even the little, what do you call that? The center console thing.
Console thing, yeah. Rifled through. And
like, I don't think they were trying to hide by any means that they were going through the car. So
yeah.
I leave, head to the apartment, and I was either in the driveway or on my way there, and he calls and says, all right, everything's good. Meet me in about 2 hours. Like, all right. And so a couple hours later, we meet at the strip club. Like, all right, we passed. We're good to go. And so basically, the Greeks were now vouching for me. Like, he vouched for me to the Greeks, which this is the hard side of, especially this type of undercover work. He was in more trouble at this point now than I was. Because he has one job, and when he vouches for someone, they better be who he says they are. Because if they're not, that's on his head. He takes the ultimate blame for this. And so that, and I knew that at that minute that I really put him in a bad spot, that eventually one day this could be bad. And so that was hard, because I like Marcos. I enjoyed hanging out with Marcos. I know he's a criminal. But he was a lot of fun to hang out with. We had a good time, all that. So, and of course, knowing his daughters and all that definitely plays with you mentally, more so afterwards than during. So, within a couple of days of there, I'm introduced to an upper level Greek, and that's when things really start to roll. And then I'm out with them every single night. Introduced to a whole new world at that point, I guess. But it was crazy. And then obviously at that point, I'm paying people off to looking at clubs where we're going to open them, all that kind of thing. So that goes on. I finally, the money man, they take to him. Everything is good. That took. And then I can kind of slowly
extricate yourself.
Yeah. First is I'm not around as much.
I have to go away to business, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then it's just hit me by phone, and then eventually the phone calls. So it would have been August 2011 that I was completely out. And then before the end of August, I had been asked to attempt to infiltrate a domestic terrorist group.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Before we, of course, and like, I know that that's a great job that you were involved in, and I want to get to that. But like, was there like you were living and breathing this other person's life, and like you're saying, like you can't help but get some kind of like emotional attachment is maybe too strong, but like you're saying, you have some kind of like, it was fun to hang out with, and I met his daughters and all that kind of thing. Like, is there some kind of psychological debrief or like after a job like that with your department?
Not for that one, no.
No, okay.
Like there was that particular case, it was all about mission success, not about well-being.
Okay.
Trying to put that as gently as I can.
And not to take anything away from you, but like, why were you picked for this next job, considering you had just come out of probably close to 18 months of fairly consistent, deep undercover work?
So I guess I was the first person in my department to ever do that.
Okay.
And especially in local department and Fed level, especially since 80s and mid 90s, that stopped. Nobody was doing that anymore. And in retrospect, for good reason. It's not worth it by any way, shape, or anything.
Yeah.
So that played into it. I also, the person that was heading up this, I think what was it called? I forget what they were calling the unit, but specific for the DNC, because that was the bombing was planned for the DNC, the Democratic National Convention.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So that's what they got information on, that's what they were planning to bomb. And so
when it's such a realistic threat like that, they just have to take it so seriously and just plow ahead.
I could have said, no, I'm not doing this.
What was that conversation with your wife like, if you don't mind me asking?
So, and I skipped the part. So when I came back from the first case, I was so stupid. I assumed that everybody hit pause on their life and was waiting for me to return, because I'm that important. And
nothing like a healthy level of narcissism.
Yes, it's good. But it's like, I guess you just don't realize it. It's not actually expected people to hit pause, but you forget that everybody's life goes on. I lost friends after the first case. Remember, and there was more to it. To help protect my identity, the FBI had floated some rumors around there that I was gone in another country. Some people that didn't like me floated rumors that I was a criminal. When you just disappear like this, obviously people have their opinions. So yeah, you come back, and I had obviously my sergeant who I owe my life to, and then I have two really good friends, Chris and Jeff. Chris is an ATF agent in another state, and he was the one that was always in contact with me. And he's a close family friend. Our families are very, very close. But he was one who was in contact with me and, helped keep me sane through that. And then Jeff, literally at one point, called me and says, "We're meeting in the middle of this case, right, where I can't see anybody, more or less take phone calls and stuff like that." And ended up picking a place way outside of town. And he says, "Man, I just need to sit down and make sure you're okay." He goes, "I know you haven't been able to have contact with anybody and all this." He was just worried about, it was the coolest thing ever, especially in that situation where handlers and everything were very mission focused. And so you're by yourself, you're lost. But anyway, so I get done with this case, this first one, and my wife's name is Retta. We end up having a long conversation. We have to readapt. She's now gotten used to living a life where she takes care of the kid. And I missed obviously so much during that time. And she had, gotten some promotions at her work, new responsibility, new role. I missed everything. And so we had to kind of reconnect.
Understandably.
Living separate lives. Yeah. So it was hard. There's no question, especially, right as we're getting through that, then I get up and leave again. And now she has been incredible. Matter of fact, we joke because a couple of the other podcasts I've done, some of the comments have been, she's a rock star. I was like, "Oh, I see. I can infiltrate these groups, and you're the rock star." But it's true. She doesn't get the credit she deserves for all this.
Well, I think as well, though, and I'm, I obviously was a cop, but I'm also the wife of a firefighter, and I can see it from both perspectives. And I think, there's something to be said about knowing that she had shit handled at home, and having that confidence in her allowed you to go and play this incredible, crazy, make-believe world, knowing that, I know my kid's taken care of, I know she's okay. I think there's that dichotomy of knowing that, if she's got everything sorted, that everything's okay, and then you go and do what you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, otherwise it would, like, and that's the whole thing. I don't like, so they talk, that one best case scenario for deep undercovers is they're single, and I immediately say no. Like, that would not, you'd be way too reckless. I think it helps to have somebody back at your house depending on you, so that you're not as
Yeah.
reckless and you set barriers on yourself. Like,
Kind of helps you kind of hold on to reality, I guess, too.
yeah, I was too reckless during these cases as it was. I shouldn't,
Mhm.
like, I can imagine being single going too far. Um, and then the other thing is that you can't be married and make it through these cases. And part of it, like, so there was one person in my department who started to do a case like this with a
Yeah.
motorcycle gang. Um, and he ended up, it wasn't very long. He got a little bit burned. But it cost him his marriage. And the guy had talked to him, like, when I first went into Vice and Narcotics, this was the guy that I idolized, right? I want to be this guy. He's the coolest. And so obviously I picked his brain as much as I could. And what cost him his marriage was he didn't talk to, like, he followed the rules. Because you're not supposed to talk about these cases. Well, I threw that out the window. I said, you know what, I'd rather blow the case or get in trouble than lose my marriage.
Yep.
So she knew exactly what I was doing. Now, there were certain details, like if it was case-specific details, it just wouldn't affect anything. I'm not going into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the way.
Yeah. But I think it's what I guess it's one of those things, and obviously there's like SOPs and rules for a reason. But like you're saying, like your marriage and your relationship would have had to have been incredibly strong to even consider going down this path. So to break the rules like a little bit, and like you're saying, like this is a job, that's your marriage, that's your life, that's your family. Like there has to be some kind of level of prioritization. Otherwise, what's the point?
Exactly. And I mean, obviously, in that job in particular, you have a tendency to prioritize work over your family as it is. Obviously, what I was doing was extremely selfish on the personal side of things. I mean, it wasn't fair to my family to do these cases. The second one, I would have failed the second one if it wasn't for what was at stake.
Yeah.
Mentally, the second one, I was getting in really bad shape really fast.
Hi guys, Erin Jane here. I had such a wonderful time speaking with Matt that we ended up recording for almost 3 hours. So we've broken our conversation up into 2 separate parts. Obviously, if you're hearing this now, you'll know in this episode, Matt and I covered his early law enforcement career and went in depth about his first experience as an undercover operative in a deep cover, prolonged and protracted investigation. Listen in next week when I'll release part 2, where Matt details his second long-term undercover operation involving domestic terrorism, how those experiences affected his mental health, and where he's at today. I want to thank Matt for his amazing time and honesty in sharing everything that he did with us today and will be released next week. And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of this darkness community. Hi guys, it's Erin Jane here. Firstly, thank you for listening to I Will Hold Space for Your Darkness. This podcast really is for you, the listener, and I hope you're finding as much value in listening to these conversations as I am in having them. If you'd like to offer any feedback, suggest a subject matter, are interested in being a podcast guest, or would like to get in contact to receive first responder life and wellness coaching services, please reach out. You can find me on Instagram at Erin Jane Coaching or my website, www.erinjanecoaching.com. I look forward to hearing from you and I'm so grateful to have you as part of this darkness community. Cheers.